sales yesterday. It didn't take long for the game to sell out. I guess it was always going to, and plenty of Swans fans would be here. But how exciting is that? And how much of a difference does it make for the side on the day to have that support?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, prelim finals are really, what it's about as far as making sure you give yourself every opportunity in them, and so to be able to do it in front of our home crowd is really exciting for us, our players and staff, but critically our supporters, to be able to come along here to the SCG and get behind the team. We're really looking forward to it.
What have your thoughts been on the discussion south of the border about fans hoping that there was a larger Collingwood contingent able to make the trip?
Oh, I haven't. It doesn't come into my equation. I mean, we obviously, our fans have to travel 11 or 12 times a year if they're coming from Sydney. So, I haven't spent much time thinking about that.
John, what do you make of one game in 3 weeks? Is that a concern, or what have you done to try and alleviate maybe being a little bit slow out the blocks, considering Collingwood's been playing week in, week out?
Yeah, well, I mean, we had a tough training session on Saturday. So we trained last Thursday. We had a really good workout on Saturday, a tough session in pretty warm conditions. So, that was good to be able to have that under our belt. It's always the balancing act between, making sure that your players don't get injured versus a really tough session. So, we wanted to have a good session. And so that's what we did on Saturday. The players really had a good blowout. Pulled up well from it, so that's all you can do is to prepare as best you can, and we felt like the weekend session was an important one for us.
Is Ollie Florin 100%? He came off with that ankle injury in the first final?
Yeah, he's fine. So he did some training on Saturday, he'll train today, and he'll be fine.
And you've had a pretty settled team for quite a while now. Is that part of your messaging to the group that, as much as this is a prelim and it's exciting, but to have the opportunity to go in with a pretty healthy list is unusual too?
Yeah, it's sort of, we've got to get through a couple of training sessions, and it's important though to be able to have the balance between having a settled team and understanding that, that making the changes that you still need to do to keep on improving. We feel like we've still got some scope to get better at. We know we need to. It goes up every week. This week will be the same, but it is that balance between trying to find your best team in form, but also having a settled lineup, and trying to get that is what we're after, and hopefully the players have got confidence that the players that they're playing with are in good form and they've been playing with them for a while.
And for Lance, you've spoken a bit about him. The continuity he's had in training and playing has been really important for his return to fitness. Have you had to do anything differently with him having the extra couple of weeks off?
No, I mean he's been training and training hard. He had a really good session here on Saturday, a hard session. He really set himself for that, and so he did that, trained well, pulled up well. So he'll train again this week and get ready to go for Saturday.
Did he seem particularly keen to bounce back after a rare, quiet one in a final?
Look, that happens. It happens even to the best. And that was a couple of weeks ago now. He's put that behind him. He knows he'll have a wonderful opponent again this week, so it doesn't get any easier, but that's what this time of the year is about. You're going to be playing against the best teams, the best players. He's a competitor. He prepares himself very well, and he'll do it again this week.
What do you make of the youth in your team preparing for a prelim? I know they played a very big final against Melbourne, but a lot of Collingwood's players have been to this stage before. How do you try and prepare them, if possible, for what's going to happen on Saturday?
It's really just concentrating on the play-by-play and looking at the things that work for us and concentrating on that. Putting your energies into our team play is really what takes some of that anxiety away. And when you concentrate on your process, and I've said it many times, whether it's round 1, round 15 or a prelim final, you concentrate on what you do and put your energies into that. That usually gives you every opportunity and allows the players to just focus on what they can control. And I think that's the most important thing in any game of footy, but particularly in finals games.
You only played them here about a month ago in what was a very big game already. So can you lean on that, considering it was a handy victory for you?
You look at it a little bit. They've got a couple of different players. This week might be a couple, and so it'll be a little bit different. So it wasn't that far away or that long ago. So you look at it a little bit, take a little bit of it on board. There's still some areas of that game we can get better at as well. So we look at that a little bit, obviously, but Collingwood's form probably over the last 3 or 4 months has been as good as any team in the competition. They've got great belief. They've got players in great nick. So it's going to be a big contest.
Jordan, the guy we didn't play that day.
Yeah.
So the thoughts on how he might pose a threat for you and the potential matchup for him?
Oh, clearly he poses a threat. He's a very good player in great form. So, yeah, we look at that, obviously, but we also look at Crisp, Pendlebury, Josh Dacos, Nick. They've got plenty of great players still side bottom. So it's about the collective. It's understanding that they've got various strengths, and we know what De Goey's strengths are, and he's in great form. But usually it's about that collective midfield group and making sure that we get our two-way play that we really like to play in line and in good nick for Saturday.
Is he the sort of player with that, I guess, burst of power that he plays with that you can send a minder to, or is he someone you're kind of better off having a Mills or someone similar go head to head?
Oh, you can, but no matter who we play on him, we like to play two-way footy, and that's all of our midfielders. So it's not just about going out and hopefully you have more possessions than your opponent. It's about playing two-way football in our midfield group, and it's also about the midfield mix, what the other matchups look like as well, because Crisp you saw the way he played on the weekend, his run and carry was elite. You know, Pendlebury, those guys, the rest of that midfield group, as well as De Goey, are all in good form. So it's about your collective and understanding at different times you're going to have to run the other way and play on your opponent and reduce the opposition's influence. And that doesn't change, no matter who we play or where we play.
And Ryan Clark's one player who has had a couple of defensive-minded jobs in recent times, a lot of success, including on Nick Dacos. Are you expecting him? I mean, I'm sure Collingwood's expecting similar again. Are you prepared for that and perhaps an alternate role for Nick?
Yeah, look, who knows? I can't control what Collingwood are doing. We'll go through what we need to do, and there'll be some plans that will go in as per every week, a few of the what-if scenarios, but you go through that. But at the end of the day, it's about your collective and your players making sure they work for and with each other, and there'll be individual roles, but every player has a role at certain points of the game, and we need to play good, strong two-way footy, and that's what we'll be focusing on.
John, did you think you'd be here at the start of the season? Like, you got such a young list. I know plenty of experienced players, but as you take a step back and look at it with perspective, are you almost ahead of schedule potentially on where you thought you might be at the start of the season? No,
I don't take a step back at all. I'm looking forward all the time, and you know, I've got at the moment what's going through my head is this training session, and when I've finished here, I'll be thinking about that, and then I'll be thinking about Thursday, and then thinking about Saturday. I mean, it's something that you just very much, and I'm that way anyway, and our team's like that as far as looking at what's very much in front of us, and we prepare for Collingwood and playing Collingwood at their very best, and that's what's in our mind at the moment.
You touched on the younger guys. Do you tell them to embrace an occasion like this, or do you sort of not really worry about that?
I just tell them to keep focusing on what works. What you know works, and understanding your role in the team at any particular moment is important. Putting pressure on the opposition is important. Playing two-way footy is important. Just concentrate on those things you can control and focus on that. It's you know, it's fantastic to be able to play in front of a big crowd here at the SCG, and we understand the importance of a prelim final. But as far as the game itself, when the siren goes, and we need to get the job done and play the sort of footy we want to play, and that's play by play, stay in the moment. That's generally what you do, and that's generally what you focus on. We've got some experienced players that can share that experience with the younger players as well, so that's important. But you need to experience it yourself too, and it's a good position to be in. You know, we played in front of 80,000 against Melbourne, last year's premiers at the MCG. That was a great experience for us. We get a chance to play here at the SCG in front of a big crowd.
Given the way that the younger players handled that occasion, is there a feeling that they've really come of age in terms of feeling comfortable on this big stage?
Well, I think you're always adding to that experience. You're always adding to that, and you're learning all the time, and you're adding to that level of what the game's about. You know, we understand what the big stage is about, but you know, once again, I still get back to what our core focus will be, and that's putting pressure on the opposition and playing strong two-way footy, and you know, you understand the importance of the game. Everyone does. You know, I don't need to reinforce that. But what we do reinforce is focus on our controllables and get that right, and put our energies into that, and don't get caught up on everything else.
First prelim here at the SCG in a long time, 96 or something like that. such an obvious question, but how comfortable does the side feel playing here at the SCG, and how much of a difference does it make to actually play the game here at the SCG rather than away from home?
Oh, it's great to be able to have the opportunities to play here on our home deck, in front of our home crowd. It's really important to be able to, have our supporters come along and enjoy the moment. But my experience usually tells me that no matter where you play, Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Tasmania, here, there's some fundamentals that need to get done, and that'll be the same again on Saturday. It'll just be the basic parts of the game that you need to get right, and we'll be, that's what our aim will be.
Just on that, Craig McRae said after the last game here that perhaps the ground didn't suit Collingwood that much because it's so different to the MCG. Can you expose them in that area again potentially?
Oh look, we've talked about when we've gone away to opposition grounds at different times about the dimensions, and we've changed the dimensions of this ground to suit occasionally, not often, occasionally. I guess over a long period, experience tells me that's just a small part of adding up to the result. The main things here, the basics of the game still apply, no matter what the ground, what size it is. Getting your fundamentals right still apply, and that'll be the same here on Saturday.